Number one is Tom Brady was not told he would be punished if he did not give up his cell phone or comply with what the NFL was saying. He had no idea what would happen. He had no idea there'd be a 4-game suspension. He had no idea there'd be a fine. Whatever would happen as a consequence of this, he was not told. So that was the first thing they thought was why this suspension could not last. Number two, the NFL appointed counsel Pash to question Brady and, I guess, edit the Wells report when they hired Ted Wells to do this whole research on this case. Brady was not allowed to question Pash back. So that's the second reason why his suspension did not last. And the last reason, which is the funniest one, is because Roger Goodell was the arbitrator in this whole case, which is absurd considering he's the commissioner of the NFL, and obviously he's challenging Tom Brady in this case. So why would a guy who's not neutral be the arbitrator? I don't know that. It is quite absurd, like I said. So that's the third reason, and that I really can't blame them for that. And those are the reasons why that the suspension was nullified. That being said, his innocence was not a part of this ruling whatsoever. Okay, so if he did something in the bathroom with the ball boys or whatever, that could still very well happen. And that's what I wanted to make clear to all these people who are tweeting and saying all this stuff on Facebook. Tom Brady's, he's Superman, he's back, he's playing. He very well could be guilty. And the NFL is still appealing it. They're not going to challenge whether Brady could play or not, that he's going to play no matter what. He's playing week 1. But I would not be surprised if their appeal wants to find out if he's guilty or not. And the reason why I think he's guilty, tell me why Bob Kraft, the owner of the Patriots, would give up a first-round pick and I believe a 4th or 5th-round pick and $1 million fine to the league if Brady was not guilty. If Brady didn't say, hey, Mr. Kraft, I did it, give him what they asked for, maybe we'll get out of this. So they did that, but there was a lawsuit to follow. That is why I think that he definitely did something, because why the team be so quick to comply then with the NFL? That's just the one thing that if you're a Pats fan, you really can't deny. I'm sorry. If he did it, the team would have fought that too. Why would they give in so easily to that? No one even remembers that the Patriots were, they were docked a pick, 2 picks, and then they were, fined $1 million. Because most people here just remember the case, and obviously the case is a bigger deal. Tom Brady's the face, one of the faces in the NFL, and he's missing 4 games and it's really hurt their chances. I don't blame you. They don't need draft picks, and I'm sure they have plenty of money. But that really did happen, and that's the reason why I think that he did do something. Calling their ball boy and the personnel the deflator because he's fat. I mean, if you believe that, then you need help. Let's just put it that way. So, long story short, those 3 reasons, that's why his whole suspension is gone. Wasn't allowed to question the person who was questioning him. Roger Goodell was the arbitrator, which is hilarious. And because he was not told there would be punishment if he did not hand over his cell phone. Why he didn't hand over his cell phone, another reason why I think he's also guilty. Maybe he's trying to hide stuff from Giselle. Who knows? That's another rumor. I'm not going to get into that. That's for another day. But if you had nothing to hide, why not give it in? Why not comply? And then you'd be exonerated, and whole thing would go, be put to bed. And that's another red flag throughout this whole process. On the flip side of this, while Patriots fans can be happy, talk about denting the shield. The NFL comes out of this horribly, just horribly, and people are calling for Goodell's head. He's not going to resign. The guy makes $40 million a year. He's not going anywhere. Let's just face that. The owners are still behind him. That's a fact. They've come out and said they're behind him. But, you lose a lot of credibility when you go through this. And to appeal to uphold, the face of the league, like whatever his quote was today, it's sad. It's sad. But the NFL still doesn't suffer. It prospers. Schefter said something today on ESPN about, it's been a hard 2 years for the NFL. How? Where? Revenue? No. They sell tickets. People buy games on the DirecTV package. People do fantasy sports. That's going to the NFL. People watch every game. That's another funny thing, too. Who's to say this wasn't some kind of publicity stunt to draw more ratings? That Thursday night game when Tom Brady comes out, man, oh man. What are the ratings going to be on that? I'm watching that game. Most of America's watching that game. Those ratings will be close to Super Bowl. Millions and millions and millions of people watching that game. A Thursday night football game. Besides the fact they're already hungry for football. We've been dying for some real action. you having Tom Brady versus Steelers. The Steelers draw. The Patriots draw. And you have Tom Brady playing his first game after everyone thought he was going to be suspended. Is just, I mean, that's a ratings monster right there. Darren Rovell mentioned that Goodell's trying to make himself to be like a Vince McMahon character. At this point, I mean, he might as well turn full heel because it'll help him out. So, crazy day in sports. As Adam Shine always says, you gotta love sports, and that's how I feel right now. Because hopefully we're done with this whole legal issue. We can move forward to actual NFL action. But there's a lot of components to this whole thing. A lot of people to follow on Twitter. I usually haven't done this before, but Michael McCann's a guy who actually met before in a seminar at BU, and he teaches at UNH. He writes for Sports Illustrated too. Has a really good and simple article to follow this whole step-by-step process. If you don't understand it, I try to do my best in this podcast to lay the 3 steps. So that is one thing you could read. He's probably the best and the most fair, the most neutral guy you could read out there. So I definitely recommend him. Try to stay away from SportsCenter. They have Teddy Bruschi on yelling about the Patriots deserve more. Like, relax, buddy. We get it. You played for them, and you want Tom Brady to be go back to being the golden child, but you're biased. Let's just be honest. Let's call a spade here. So definitely read Michael McCann. Follow me on Twitter at Edward L. Murphy. I have a bunch of tweets on this today because people just didn't understand the point of how this is not saying Tom Brady's innocent. He very well could have deflated footballs. Let's just get that fact straight. He could have deflated footballs. But because there was some loophole with the whole Article 46, I believe it is, that there was not explicitly said that, hey, Tom, you don't give me your cell phone, you're going to be suspended 4 games. If anyone in their right mind, the way my thought process is this. You did something wrong, you broke the rules, you deserve a penalty. And then when you're going against the penalty for not complying, you deserve another penalty for non-compliance. So, should it have been 4 games, the same amount of games for a PED suspension or drug use? I mean, probably not. I don't really care about doctoring the footballs. I don't care if you're in baseball and you did a spitball, you put your belt buckle into it. Who cares? It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't make a difference. Half the NFL says they want the balls heavier, half them want them light. I don't care about that. What I care about is just accepting what you did wrong and don't lie about it. No one likes lying. Dishonesty bothers people to no end. Look at MLB with all these steroid users saying they didn't do steroids. The minute you lie about it is the minute everyone turns on you. Look at A-Rod. No one likes A-Rod because A-Rod lied about it. Does anyone hate Andy Pettitte? Nope. Andy Pettitte just got his number retired in Monument Park because he came out clean and said, yep, I did HGH, my body's breaking down, I wanted to get back on the field. Everyone said, okay, it's fine, sure, whatever. Done. But now with this. So, Pats fans went overboard. I mean, you read Barstool Sports and all those guys, I mean, they're hilarious, but come on. Like, you're really grasping nothing here because you know he did it. Just say he did it, say whatever, people cheat in sports and move on. But, I mean, the legal system today, it's kind of how it is. If you don't give a fair trial, no matter what the person did, it could end like this. And today, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how badly you really want football to come back, but to those Jet fans and Dolphins fans and Bills fans out there, I mean, this is not good news. All of New England, all my friends in Boston right now, I'm sure, jumping for joy, just like when the Sox win the World Series. They're out in the streets running because Tom Turvik is back under center. I believe they're playing tonight versus the Giants, too, so he won't see the field. It's the 4th preseason game, but he'll be back in a couple of days. Like I said, Thursday night's the first game, and Brady's playing. That'll probably shatter NFL regular season ratings records because this is going to be crazy. This is for it to linger on this long too is just. I think we're all ready to rejoice now that it's over. But again, so this is the quick breaking news portion. What you'll hear next is myself and Gene last night talking about the whole mess in Washington with the Redskins and RG3. And I'll say why he should go to the Jets. And then we have us talking about a quick Mets question, a quick Yankees question based on the playoffs. And then we'll get into a funny little bit at the end about Curtis Granderson's comments about NASA going to the moon. So again, thank you for tuning into this quick little breaking news thing. You can follow us on Twitter at DNS_podcast. I want to thank Gene and Joe for posting this, and Gene helped me out with the podcast yesterday. Joe will be back on soon, but as of right now, he's MIA as usual. Gene's at work, so he's got to pay the bucks for the show. And then we have, you can follow them on Twitter at Joe_Calabrese92. You can follow Gene at Gene DeMaio, DEMAIO. Like I said before, I'm Edward at Edward L. Murphy. Facebook too, like the Facebook fan page. It's just Dishing and Swishing Podcast. I believe I put a post there today just quickly describing this whole Brady situation, so thank you for that. And again, thanks for all those listeners. We're trying to get on the iTunes soon. We got a couple articles coming out, I believe, on the Knicks and Kristaps Porzingis, so got to look forward to that. And then obviously once the NFL season comes around, you're going to have a ton of stuff. So this is a quick outro and then leading into last night's podcast, so just stay tuned and you hear more fun stuff with myself and Gene. Welcome to the 20th edition of the Dishing and Swishing Podcast, brought to you by Applebee's, because they're our big sponsor. Me and Gene here tonight, recording somewhat live in the basement as usual. Gene, what's up?
Yep, good day, the big 2-0. Shout out to the Applebee's. Again, the only, you want to get mention of the DNS podcast, follow us on Twitter. That's all you got to do.
They're a big Twitter follower,
big Twitter follower. Yeah, exactly.
Applebee's, they everything that you hear, it's all funded by them. No, we wish so. Things would be a lot easier.
There's no money, so they might as well fund us.
It'd be better than a little box here sitting on top of my on a bar stool podcasting. Anyway, not a lot to talk about today, but there is one very big, interesting story. That's the whole Robert Griffin III saga with the Redskins. So we'll get into that a little bit. But last week we talked about the fantasy football draft we had, and I think we could recap it for a little bit before people start saying, who cares about your draft? But since Gene's team's been kind of down in the dumps lately, and he had a pretty good draft by most of what our friends say and what Yahoo says, I'll give you a couple minutes to redeem yourself and talk about your draft and what your strategies were. Or what you did differently than what we said a week ago when all our friends thought they cornered us and had all our deep, dark, fantasy strategies all ready to go.
Yeah, well, I think first thing, so everyone was joking the whole time, like, oh, Gene's going to reach on Big Ben. I said they paid attention to the wrong thing. I thought Big Ben was like, maybe, I wouldn't say third, probably in the range of Drew Brees, but I also kept saying over and over, I'm going to be the last one to take a quarterback. And I was the second to last one because Eric intentionally will always be the last one to take a quarterback. He's done that every single year. He was not going to stop this year.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's what I did.
So you went the Brady route.
I got the Brady route. So it's weird because it's like you get all the predictions online. I can't get a good reading on my team because they'll just look at it and say like, "Oh, quarterback Matt Stafford's okay." Most places we didn't see him as a starter. I kind of liked him. I think he'll have a bounce back year with healthy Calvin Johnson. Defense isn't going to be as dominating, so they're not going to be pounding the ball on the ground.
They do throw the ball a ton.
They're going to throw the ball a lot. So I think it was between. I said I did. It was for me. It was the Stafford pick. It was between Stafford, Tannehill. I mean, as you can say, Tannehill's going to have a good year. Rivers, maybe. Cam Newton, I said on the podcast, I think he's going to have a down year. I think they're going to... You want Cam because he's a dual threat.
Right.
But I think without Benjamin, there's no one on the team who's going to get a double team. I think Funch's going to have a pretty good year, but I don't think he's going to command double teams. So they're going to have a guy in the box spying him. They're going to load up against the run. So I don't see a big fantasy year for Cam Newton.
But your overall game plan, though, was to use Tom Brady, whether he comes back from suspension at week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. That's the plan.
Right. The plan is Tom Brady.
Okay.
The plan is definitely.
So you still think he's going to come back with a chip on his shoulder and say "F you," run the score up?
Yeah, I mean, like you look at the QBs who went around that. I mean, he went after Cam Newton. Did he go after Cam Newton?
Yes.
He went after Cam Newton. He went after Tannehill. He went after. I don't know about Rip, but whatever. See, he went after a lot of guys. So I think it's definitely worth it at that point for Tom Brady. And Tom made a joke of drafting backwards. It's like we'll start at round 18 and then work our way up to round 1. I basically did that. I unintentionally, but I did. I took Brady and then I took Stafford first and then Brady. I mean, in retrospect, I think what if someone took Brady? Then I'm just stuck with crappy Matt Stafford.
Exactly.
Wound up with both. That got lucky. The weird thing, if you go on, I go on a lot of sites to get what they say. So I took 3 running backs in order in rounds 7, 8, 9. I took Bishop Sankey, LeGarrette Blount, and Gio Bernard. Everywhere it says Gio Bernard's a good 3. Blunt's a good 4, Sankey's a mediocre 5. I'm like, okay, I drafted them in reverse order, but worked out in the end. I I think you pretty much stuck to what you said.
Yeah, I did. What I said in the podcast, I kept true to my word, and I said you got to go running backs early and often, then receivers after that. So my strategy was, just like I said, the podcast 2 weeks ago, you got to take a bunch of running backs that you know will produce because you want consistency. Receivers, I think, is a little bit deeper. And sorry, I'm getting up from the bar so to look at a draft board. I took, I believe, 8 receivers in a row, just hoping that some of them hit. I took my first 2, Keenan Allen, Sammy Watkins. Expecting to be decent in a PPR league, and then my 8 in a row: Funchess, Roddy White, Rashad Perriman, Cody Latimer. Cole Beasley, hopefully good in PPR. Reggie Wayne, he does play with Tom Brady when he comes back. He's a veteran guy, had a lot of targets last year with Andrew Luck, so we'll see. Moncrief, love him on the Colts offense. And the bottom one is Devontae Parker, who's the rookie on the Dolphins. And the rookies had a great year last year. Mostly every wide receiver that was a rookie performed pretty well. So I was going from the route of take a bunch of guys, hopefully one hits big time, that'll help your team out. I did wait on quarterback a little bit. I took Russell Wilson. The way we talked about this too in the podcast was that there's Luck and Rodgers. They're the top tier. The next tier below that, I think there's 3 guys. I think it's Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, and Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson mainly because his dual threat ability, and then the tier after that would be your Big Ben, your Eli, Tony Romo. I have Cam Newton there still. Don't have Stafford. I think Tannehill could slip in there this year. So guys like that, Brady as well, even with the suspension. So that was my draft idea, was to get one of those, not pay for the guys in the top tier, Roger Luck, but go for the next tier.
Like Joe traded up for
Joe. Yeah, Joe traded up in Luck, but there was no real runs. No one really went quarterback early in our draft. I do think we did a lot of reaches. I mean, a lot of guys based on injury and stuff. There were a lot of. You check on the Yahoo, the ADP. We took a couple of those guys.
I took Martavius Bryant.
Yeah, some guys like that. Like I said, due to injury or whatever the reasons, we took them a little bit earlier than they should have been. Maybe Julius Randle. Joseph Randle, sorry, I keep saying Julius. My NBA background's kicking in. But that was probably the only, I don't know the good word for it, but, we always brag on us being advanced drafters and knowing what we're doing. That was probably the only
lapse in judgment.
That was a lapse in judgment. That's a good way to put it.
I'll talk about Bryant pick for a second. So I read beforehand that he was suspended. I took him in the 6th round. So pretty early. I think he's gonna have a big year. I think he's gonna be a breakout star.
Oh, I think so too.
So I knew beforehand that he was suspended. Completely forgot when I went to the board. So I didn't go in unprepared. I just went in stupid, which is even worse.
Oh, there you go. That's the go it ended. Going in stupid. I know probably a lot of people listening to this are bored of hearing about our fantasy football team, so we can move on to real football and the real big subject, and that's Robert Griffin III, RG3, the Washington Redskins, and the future. So the timeline of events, he gets a concussion. They say Kirk Cousins will be the week 1 starter. Everyone thought, there was rumblings of could this be, shooing him out of the way. But most people thought, concussion is serious, got to go through the protocol. So he's missing week 1, but it's still, he's a starter weeks 2 on. And then a couple of days later, they go and announce that it's Kirk Cousins' team. Jay Gruden, the head coach, says that. And, all what hits the fan and everyone goes crazy. And I was very, very shocked. I don't think you trade up for a guy of his caliber. All the picks they gave up, the 5 picks leave to the Browns for that number 2 pick, to do that, and then 3 years later to say you're no longer the face of the franchise it's crazy. And from what it looks like is the coaching staff and the players have Kirk Cousins back, while Dan Snyder, who's the much maligned owner, has Robert Griffin III's back. So it's a very messed situation. Right now, they're the laughing stock of the NFL. Before I get into it and where I think he needs to end up, Gene, you can go give your thoughts.
Yeah, I read somewhere online. Someone was saying in a league where one guy's in a 7-month-long court case over deflated balls. Another team guy blew his finger off. Another guy got punched and broke his jaw for $600. And the easily most dysfunctional team in the league is the Redskins. So that's not an easy feat. So. Yeah, so I think So Gruden obviously doesn't like Griffin. I was saying it last year. I'm pretty sure you can go back on one of the podcasts. I was saying I cannot think of a single coach who has taken such a hard stance against one of his players, especially quarterback.
He's been known to like pocket passes, but the thing is RG3 is a very good pocket passer. His problem is that he does like to run, but unlike, say, Russell Wilson knows how to take a hit, knows how to slide, knows how to go out of bounds. He knows what to do in a situation where he's going to get his head
Griffin likes to play like a running back when he's like undersized.
Exactly. He's undersized. He runs reckless abandon,
right? And
there's no use of a 3rd and 10, and there's no receivers open and running. Getting your head popped off.
Right.
You got to slide. You're a quarterback. You're the most important position on the field. There's no reason to put yourself at jeopardy, and he does that. He didn't learn this. That's on him.
Right. It's the competitive thing. You always want to be. I want to be the guy who's going to give 110% every single play. He wants to run. He wants to fight for those extra yards. But at the end of the day, you got to think of the bigger picture. Think of your career. Think of the team which relies on you to play every single down. So that's definitely a big part of it. We're going to get into it. I think. So they're looking to get rid of him right now. Obviously,
right. I think the contract thing. They stupidly re-signed him. They picked up the option. It's a $16 million option.
Yeah.
So the way it works is that if they do trade him and he plays for a team and he gets injured with another team, the Redskins
are on the hook.
They're on the hook up to a certain date.
Mm-hmm.
If he goes to another team when he plays and he's healthy, the team then has to pay the money. I don't know why.
That's just par for the course.
It really shows you how screwed up this is, because now the coaching staff, I guess originally they seemed to have his back, and they must have turned or slowly, soured on him after they picked up the option. So there was no real. There was this. I guess it wasn't a sign that they were going to do this before Dan Snyder re-signed him. Mm-hmm. Because you're not picking up a $16 million option for a guy that you don't want to start as your quarterback. It's just way too much money for invested in one player.
Right.
So now that's going to be a problem moving him, because some teams might not want to pick up that
you're making a long-term commitment to
cap space. Right? Yeah. The one team I do think he needs to go to is the New York Jets, and there's a lot of reasons why. But let's start with the play of Griffin. Look back to his rookie year. He had, I believe, 20-plus touchdowns and only 5 interceptions. For his career, he still has 40 touchdowns and around 23 interceptions. It's almost doubled the amount of touchdowns and interceptions.
Right.
That's not bad at all. His completion percentage is above 60% for his career. Also very good. A lot of quarterbacks around the NFL last year hovering. You've seen Eli do it. Mm-hmm. Cam Newton has done it. Guys like that aren't throwing the ball with much accuracy as he has been.
Right.
I don't know why there's been so much, he was injured one year. So why? I don't know why he gets picked on. No one who's been pretty good has got picked on more for their play than RG3.
Right.
Like we said before, too, he's a dual threat. If he learns how to slide, maybe. I don't think he will. But if he learns how to slide, if he learns how to take a hit better, go out of bounds, that'll make him infinitely better. He'll be on the level of Russell Wilson in terms of knowing how to be a dual threat. Just having that option, having to stretch the field, have a guy always have to worry about you on the defense because of your legs, that just makes you a far more valuable quarterback. And like I said, he's a very good pocket passer. You saw what he did at Baylor. You saw what he did as his rookie year in the NFL, the Redskins, when he was the whole talk of the NFL. There was a bunch of those sabermetric-y type stats that had him ranked like one of the better seasons of what he can accomplish.
He was one of the best fantasy quarterbacks that year, easily.
So I think that he's a great option for the Jets, who are in a position with, they have Ryan Fitzpatrick. You mentioned Geno Smith getting punched in the broken jaw. Fitzpatrick will give you what he'll give you. You know what his ceiling is, and then eventually he'll crap out, and then you're stuck with him. Or if Geno Smith's not back yet, Bryce Petty, he's not ready. Another Baylor quarterback, Baylor Bear. He's not going to be ready to take the reins. At least I don't think so. So if you're the Jets, your team, though, is full of talent. And you're not going to be bad enough to go pick in the top 5 to get a guy like Connor Cook or to get Christian Hackenberg.
You're in the worst spot you could be in.
You're going to be around 8-8. You're going to be around 500. You're going to be around the 15th pick, and you're not going to find your franchise savior there. So what else do you have to lose by then giving a 5th round pick or whatever it is to go get RG3 and pay the money and have a guy who could have very, very, very high talent, has a high ceiling. Yes, it could blow up in your face. He could be very immature in the locker room and do dumb stuff on social media like he has, and then no one has his back. But I believe in Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is a very even keel, calm coach. I think he'll somehow figure out how to make it not a circus if things get bad. But I have the benefit of the doubt. I give RG3 the benefit of the doubt that he can come in and be a good starting quarterback, and he could be a guy who's going to give you a better chance to win games than a Ryan Fitzpatrick, than a Geno Smith, because we saw what it wasn't a fluke. I don't think it's a fluke. I don't think what he did is a fluke. I know I'm ranting here. I wanted to get your thoughts on it too, but I think the Jets in the past have made very dumb moves. I don't think this one will be a dumb move.
No, me neither. I mean, what have you even said? So I think the only way it really can blow up in their face if he gets hurt. And like you said, if he gets hurt before a certain date, the Redskins are on the hook for the money. So
anyone in the NFL can get hurt, though.
Yeah, exactly.
At this point,
and you want to look at the truth. So everyone say, "Oh, injury prone, whatever." His rookie season, he missed one game, I think, with a concussion. Mm-hmm. He got hurt in that playoff game toward the end. I mean, so he actually got hurt in the beginning, and he played through it, and he was not effective during the game, but he stuck in it. Didn't miss a single game because of injury in his second year. He missed 3 games at the end because Shanahan decided to bench him.
Right.
Shanahan got fired for not liking RG3.
Probably because of RG3 and because Dan
Yep.
Snyder listened to whatever RG3 said. So that, I mean, yeah,
And
that's the reason
year,
why there was a huge locker room faction.
Right.
And you got to hope if he goes to another team, he's not going to do that. But I don't think he will act like that because he goes to the Redskins as
he'll be humbled for one thing.
Exactly. He's a guy with a lot to lose and he has a lot to gain.
Right.
So he's not going to be in the same position where he's like the prodigal son, where he comes in number 2 pick. He's the guy that is going to save the franchise, going to win the NFCs. He's not that anymore. He's a guy now with a second chance, looking to salvage his career that he turned
was
around.
Once so bright.
Right. Now it looks like crap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I think that second year especially, I think people were a little too harsh on him because when you look at it, he took a team that was like they were what? They traded up to 2. I think they were at 5. Something like that. They were not a good team that year.
Right.
The year before they got RG3, I think 2012, 2011, whatever it was. He brought them to the playoffs and like with a really terrible roster. And the next year, you had to expect. It kind of went in reverse of what you expected. You were thinking, okay, the first year, we're going to be bad. We're going to have RG3 and not much else. We're going to be bad. We're going to give up a good pick to the Redskins, but to the Rams, excuse me. But then hopefully the year after that, we're going to improve, and we're not going to have the picks, so we're not going to have the picks to improve that much, but we're going to improve a little bit, and then the year after that, we're going to have all our picks back, and we're going to improve even more. Didn't turn out that way. It turned out a little bit the opposite. Started out really good, and then, just what happened is you just didn't have a very talented roster.
Right.
You weren't refilling your roster with talent through picks. And, that's just...
But he did get them into the playoffs.
He got them into the playoffs, exactly.
He threw a thing, that game had 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. They did lose,
he played pretty well.
And you could also make the argument now, put RG3 on a team like the Jets, better offensive line than the Redskins.
The line's a big thing.
They have 2 big-time receivers in Marshall and Decker.
Right.
Jason Martin's out for the year, but there's still enough firepower there. You can have Curley in the slot, whoever else. There's guys, versus who they have on the Redskins. Garcon. There's not much there.
Mm-hmm.
Running game, you could throw it a wash. Alvin Morris is a very good productive back. The Jets, Ivory, not too shabby himself. So, and the Jets' defense is one of the best in the league and could be one of the best in the league, especially when they get back Sheldon Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
So you have a very talented New York Jets team. I think that's more talented than the Washington Redskins. And the Jets are also in they're in a tough division, the AFC East. But the guy that everyone has been talking about this whole offseason, Tom Brady, if he's not there playing with the Patriots, that brings them
wide open.
And then you're going to have the Bills, the first year coach Rex Ryan, first year with them, with McCoy, who knows what his health is like. They're starting Tyrod Taylor now. Everyone's going to say Tannehill's, great big season, but, let's wait and see. So you have the Jets with a very, very good defense. You have 2 playmakers at wide receiver. They have a strong running game. You go and put in a guy like RG3, who had a fantastic rookie season, who brought a Redskins team, a not that great Redskins team, into the playoffs, who's shown that he could do everything on the field that you asked him to. He could run the ball if he needs to. He could make throws in the pocket, make throws in the run. He's a very accurate passer. He's a smart passer. He does not turn the ball over. So, I don't know. Yeah, you could say he's immature. Maybe he's a mental midget. I don't know that. I don't know the guy. I'm not inside of his head. But what I do know is what I saw on the field when he was healthy and with a decent team, and he did very good things. The Jets have everything in place but a quarterback. The Jets had a quarterback that's putting them from around a 500 team to a possible double-digit win team.
Exactly.
And that's in a division this year they could win because Tom Brady is now suspended and because there's question marks in Buffalo and Dolphins may be a team on the rise, but I still think there's stuff left to prove.
A lot of question marks in that team, honestly.
So it makes all the sense in the world for them to go after him. I know the reports coming out today that they're saying they're not interested. I'm not sure if it's a smokescreen or not, but I think they're insane to not have at least one phone call with the Washington Redskins front office and just say, kick the tires, say what's going on with the situation. We want to monitor it. We're going to be interested. There's no reason not to, because you're in a quarterback purgatory right now with the Jets. You have Fitzpatrick and Geno Smith. That's a mess. You're not going to lose enough games to get a top pick, so you're screwed there. How many big-time free agent quarterbacks ever come on the market in the NFL?
None.
Practically never. So what is your real end game here? What is your goal of the season? You're going to be happy with it going 7-9 and missing the playoffs and not having a good pick and not finding your quarterback in the future,
and spending a lot of money to do that.
So I don't know why. Well, I don't know why that anyone is against this whole RG3 move. A lot of people, even we see on social media, even writing articles, people calling radio stations, Jet fans are saying, "I don't want anything to do with RG3." Blah blah. And I think that's 95% because of his attitude and the stuff that's transpired in Washington, which you could also blame to the coaching staff, the way Jay Gruden handled it and Mike Shanahan handled it, and to how Dan Snyder handled it. I don't think that. What's his name? The owner of Jets, Johnson. What's the
Woody Johnson?
Woody Johnson. I'm blanking now.
Mm-hmm.
Woody Johnson. I don't think Woody Johnson will have a circus like that. Rex Ryan, who was a loud man that's not here anymore, Todd Bowles, is the total opposite of this guy. So it's not going to be the same situation. I think the other 5% of these people who are skeptical is probably for the injury risk,
right?
And that's fine. But with what comes with the injury risk is coming with his legs that can help you win games. So I think it's a perfect fit for the Jets. You really have nothing to lose. RG3 has nothing to lose. So find a way to get it done.
Exactly. Yeah. You said everything. Everything you got to say about the Jets right there. Definitely. I think. You really got to get it done. I mean, he's a big time playmaker. That's the stand of it.
What other teams really can go out there that you could? I could find the Bills. I guess you could throw the Bills in there. They might get rid of Castle if they start Tyrod.
Before I heard right now that they picked up the option, I forgot about it. Don't think I heard about that. I was thinking the Cardinals, but even though they also just re-signed
Palmer
to
Palmer had a
big deal.
very good season before he got injured.
Yeah,
I don't think that
I just don't think. I agree. I don't think it's going to happen. But I don't think you can expect. He's injury prone throughout his career. He's 36 years old right now. I don't think you can expect him to play until he's 39. So, well, who knows? But again, I definitely think the Jets are easily the best fit for him. Right. I mean, you could say the Browns maybe if they want to give up on Menzel, but
that hasn't had enough time to
mature.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, let's see what Johnny can do, and if not, they're a team that's not ready to win now. So I think
why would they trade?
They're better suited to lose. They're a team that could lose a ton of games and be in the runnings for a top quarterback like Cook or Hagenberg.
Yeah.
The Jets are not. The Jets have a ton of talent across the board, but quarterback. Yeah, so that's the reason why they need to be in this position to go get a guy when they can become available. The Jets went after a guy like Brett Favre when he was available. They
turned out pretty well.
They were interested in when Jay Cole was available for a short time too. Quarterback Peyton Manning as well. There's never a time when quarterbacks are available, and when they have been recently, the Jets have gone after him. So why stop that trend now, and not go after RG3, who's a young kid who's proven he could play in the NFL? He's infinitely better than Ryan Fitzpatrick and Geno Smith.
Anybody who wants to compare him to those two and say like, oh, is he really that much better? Is just
I would be excited to see. Let's see this. If Griffin was moved before this whole thing happened, say he's moved for the first preseason game this offseason, but let's just say behind closed doors, Dan Snyder met with Jay Gruden. Jay Gruden said, "I'm going with Kirk Cousins all the way," and he said, "Okay, let's go move RG3."
Training camp in,
and they go and trade him to the New York Jets before any of this stuff comes out. None of this leaks. It's just a random trade. And you wake up one morning, ESPN, boom, he's traded. He's gone, and all this negative media attention is away from him. People are going to say, "I cannot wait to see RG3 throw the ball to Brandon Marshall. I cannot wait to see RG3 throw the ball to Eric Decker. I can't wait to see RG3 start from the 3-yard line and jump over the O-line and D-line into the end zone head first and score a touchdown. And the Jets finally now have a real shot at winning the AFC.
Exactly.
That's exactly what would happen if it transpired that way instead of the other way with all cameras and getting involved in it. And he said, she said, you don't need that. And that's just going to bring... Once you hear negative attention surrounding the situation, I mean, people in the organizations listen to that stuff. They know what's going on. They know that fans are going to react poorly if the guy comes in. But if he wins ball games, what does it matter in the end?
The NFL is just more than any other league, is just obsessed with avoiding bad press. So anybody, I think Michael Sam didn't have a shot because of all the media attention that was around him. Tim Tebow was out of the league for 2 years.
But the Jets are not afraid of that because the Jets brought in Tebow. The Jets brought in Vic. The Jets have had a loudmouth coach like Rex Ryan. They're not afraid of that. They just have been on hard knocks.
Jets are the perfect fit for RG3. In every way you look at it, the Jets are the perfect fit for RG3.
And I'm with you that he's coming in a humbled guy. He will shut up in that locker room.
I think a lot of it is just the perception that comes from you hear, Dan Snyder, he's Dan Snyder's golden boy. Jay Gruden hates him. Mike Shanahan didn't like him either. He got Mike. He's immature on social media. He gets into little things with the press where he shouldn't say things he shouldn't say. But I mean, I haven't heard anything of him punching his lineman, someone in the face, breaking their jaw. I haven't heard anything of him. No arrest. Haven't heard anything of him not paying $600 for a plane ticket.
You're right. Not blowing his hand off. Yeah,
he's blowing his hand off.
He's an immature young kid who doesn't know how to handle himself in a good PR type way. Yeah, exactly. In a good PR. And he's not the only one. The Redskins as a whole are terrible at that.
Exactly. I mean, starting with the owner.
Right.
He didn't know how to be the most talked about player in the NFL. I mean, since he came right into the league, he was the number one. He was what everyone was talking about. But I mean, in the end, so just to wrap it up with this, just in my own, so just back to the Redskins, because we've obviously been talking about the Jets for a while. I mean, I think it's kind of at this point. So you don't pick the quarterback over the coach unless if you're going to fire Gruden right here and bring in a guy who likes RG3. You're not going to do that because that's going to get the whole locker room to just turn and say, okay, why is he so much better than everyone else? They just screwed up they screwed up on many, many levels. They probably took RG3 while Mike Shanahan was there when they knew Shanahan didn't want him. But in the end, Shanahan's old coach. You couldn't expect him to stick around for much longer. RG3 was a stud quarterback. In that situation, you could say, okay, we're going to prefer the quarterback over the coach.
Right.
And then Shanahan left, and I mean, he sabotaged this whole RG3 situation when he just decided one day, I'm going to sit RG3 for the next 3 games, like at the end of the season. I mean, granted, they were going nowhere, but just why do you do that? Why not let it kind of put a bad taste in all the players' mouths that he's not out there on the field, playing with them in these games that do mean nothing, but to the players, they like to make it feel like it means everything. And then they screwed up again, and they brought in Gruden, who they probably knew from day one doesn't want RG3. I mean, he hates him. He hates him so much; it's impossible to believe that he could even go into a meeting and lie that, I want to work with RG3. That's how much it is. If he has no problem firing shots at RG3 anywhere. I just can't even imagine him not doing that at a meeting with.
It's like watching reality TV. It's like a drama. It's
terrible. What? It all stems back to the whole big name coach thing, and how Dan Snyder's makes his team like a fantasy team, and is obsessed with getting big name coaches in.
Right.
The rumor around is that he wanted John Gruden, couldn't get John, and got Jay. And at this point, it kind of seems true because Jay is such a terrible fit for this team.
Yeah, he is.
You have a franchise quarterback, and he wants nothing to do with him. And you know what? For a while, you could say, okay, well, Kirk Cousins has come in and played here and there, and he's looked pretty good. There were a few games when he filled in for RG3 under Shanahan, it was just one game here, one game there. He looked pretty good. He looked like crap last year.
Right.
He looked pretty bad.
Right. And that was the question I was going to ask you to wrap this up, like you said. What will their record be with Kirk Cousins as a starter? Over under 4 wins.
About that. I would say. I would honestly say under. I think the division's pretty good, actually. Yeah, I think the Cowboys and Eagles are going to be pretty good this year. I would say the division's wide open, but the Redskins just have no shot at taking it.
They don't.
No,
so if RG3 started the whole entire year, what is the difference in wins between Kirk Cousins and?
They'd be around. They're not a good team either way. Anyway, you slice it.
I'd agree that they're not a playoff team.
I'd say a healthy RG3.
Plays a full 16.
Full 16 games.
Or 15 now with the concussion, whatever.
Yeah, 15 with the concussion. I think the concussion's pretty good because I think maybe...
Well, that's another thing, too. If there's even a concussion. At this point, who knows? Who knows actually how injured he really is? That was just the first step in getting him out the door. But whatever. If he plays 15 games this year.
To me, the good news is it's not a leg injury. So I think you can kind of... The big drop-off, like you said, his passing numbers were still pretty good. I think
very good.
Interceptions...
People act like this guy's trash. He's not Jamarcus Russell. He is twice as many touchdowns. He has interceptions. He has over a 60% completion percentage. And his quarterback rating is pretty good, too. So I don't know where these people get these stats. Google it, folks.
Yeah, exactly. Just Google it.
Yeah.
It's people look at trends and they look at expectations versus what happens. He was a beast in his rookie year, and in the second year, his passing was still okay. Interceptions were up a little bit, but that stemmed from the fact his running dropped off a lot. He had 7 touchdowns in his rookie year. Yeah. He's had 1 rushing touchdown since then.
That shows that he's spooked.
Yeah, a little bit spooked, a little bit. His legs haven't been fully healthy. I mean, there was legitimate in his second year, there was legitimate debate as to whether or not he would be ready for game 1.
Right.
So he
never recovered from that hit in the playoffs.
Wasn't at top speed. And last year he got injured very early. I'm pretty sure it was an ankle injury. So again, wasn't at top speed at all that season. And you see these leg injuries, they kind of slow people down for the whole year. really. So when you see someone go down with like a groin or hamstring, or even an ankle, mostly it's soft tissue, so like a groin or a hamstring, but even like the joints, like the ligaments, that still slows you down either way. Right. So a fully healthy RG3 now with the fresh legs, I think they can easily win 6 games. I mean, so we're saying easily 6, but I mean like.
So he's basically 3 wins above Kirk
Cousins? Yeah. I mean, you can say system might have part to do with it, so maybe you'll say 5. Who knows, though? But, like, again, we said RG3 is a good pocket passer. And if he's given time to, like, just get into the flow of things, I don't see a reason why he's, like, not 3 wins better than Kirk Cousins. After the whole league has figured out Kirk Cousins, figured out that he's trash.
I'd agree with you. I totally agree with you.
It's the
I think it's a huge gamble to do that. A huge gamble to give him a playoff, a proven quarterback who's got your team to the playoffs and is a dual threat, and you're going to give up on him for a guy who's for the most part a mystery leaning towards a less effective.
It's the Derek Anderson thing. So a few years ago, if anyone, I think back in like 2011. The Browns had a really good year behind like Braylon Edwards and they had Derek Anderson. So they drafted Brady Quinn that year, and then everyone's like, "Oh, do we keep Brady Quinn or do we start Derek Anderson?" As soon as the league started getting tape on Derek Anderson, he was not even a starting caliber quarterback anymore. He went from a Pro Bowler, he was a Pro Bowler that year, to a bad backup. He's a third stringer now, if he's still in the league.
I think he re-signed with the Panthers a couple days ago. Another 2-year deal just to be a lifetime backup. No, you're right, and I think it's a ballsy move to put in layman's terms to go get ship out a guy, the second pick overall you wasted a ton of picks on, who brought you to the playoffs, who has very good stats, who's proven he could play in the NFL and can do a ton of things on the field, and you're going to just give it all up and hope that Kirk Cousins can resemble some of that.
Right.
I think. I mean that shows you one where the coaching
figured him out,
and then shows you where the whole management's at. I think it's a very bad situation, and it probably started back when RG3 became buddies with Dan Snyder, and Dan Snyder had a riff with the coaches. But I think go to the New York Jets, you'll
revive your
career.
Put
him in one system for X amount of years. He had to go through 2 coaches, multiple systems. The team was not that talented. It was a bad situation from the start. I think the Jets. I think anyone against this whole move to the Jets is they're ludicrous, because I think it's a great fit. Other teams, like Gene said, maybe the Cardinals, maybe a few other teams. Sure, but the one that makes the most glaring sense to me, by far, is the New York Jets. So anyway, we'll switch gears here now to, I guess, the MLB playoff race. That's the only thing going on. We were just talking before the show started. We're like, what topics should we cover today? I'm like, well, nothing going on in the NBA. The NFL is either 50% RG3, 50% Deflategate. We're not doing any more Deflategate.
No,
we're not doing that today. So I guess for the MLB, we'll go.
Well, the news on Deflategate is there is no news.
There's no news. The NFL is the only sporting league where no news is breaking news on all the major sites and TV channels and stuff. So it's always hilarious. The NFL's king, though. The 2 questions I wanted to get into with baseball and the Yankees and the Mets. I guess we'll do the Yankees first. The Yankees are playing right now versus the Red Sox. They're kicking butt. Do you even with the Blue Jays' recent run, do you still consider the Yankees a championship contender?
Well, you know what? When they're clicking on all cylinders, and you've seen it against the Red Sox. I think you've seen it about a month ago against the in that series against the White Sox, where just no one could stop their offense at all. And you're seeing it again right now. I mean, they've been crushing the ball lately.
Oh, yeah.
When they're clicking on all cylinders, I don't think there are many, if any, teams better than them. I really don't think anyone in the American League. I think the Blue Jays. I think the Blue Jays obviously are up there too. But I mean, I think when the Yankees are clicking on all cylinders, there's not much anyone can do. Yeah, not much anyone can do.
You consider them in the run, in the hunt to win a World Series.
In the pennant, definitely. I think Cardinals have been very good all year, very consistent. And then their playoff. Like you want to compare say Yankees 27 World Series, all this talent team. The Cardinals at this point, they're playoff tested. The Yankees really haven't. Yankees haven't made the playoffs in a few years either. Haven't won a World Series since 2009. Cardinals just always there. So I mean, World Series definitely. I think American pennant, absolutely.
Yeah, I like the way the Yankees look. It's been frustrating the past couple of games because they leave runners in scoring position on the bases stranded. But when you're getting hitting from guys like Steven Drew, just crushing home runs, you have Didi Gregorius, who's like a 7-game hitting streak right now. When those guys are hitting, as well as when you have A-Rod and you have Beltran hitting and McCann hitting, and hopefully we'll get back to Scherzer soon, who was in the running for MVP, I believe, at certain points of the year, at least in my opinion. When those guys are hitting the ball, Ellsbury too, forgot him, and Brett the Hitman. That's a great lineup when 1-9's hitting. The pitching, well, let's put it this way. Their bullpen is fantastic, and in the playoffs, you're going to need that.
Right.
Their starting pitching, though, And Tanaka was phenomenal today. Luis Severino, I mean, he's been everything you could ask for and more. Calling him up, he's going to be a stud for the Yankees for years to come. I know CeCe is out, but he's apparently coming back. I'm not sure if I want him back, but he has been, they said, pitching the minor leagues, and he's been feeling a little better with his knee. I wouldn't even start him. Anyway, but you have Nathan Eovaldi's 14-2. You have enough starting pitching to put him in a short rotation for the playoffs. I'm not sure if they will, just because I would probably keep it at a 4, maybe the lowest. But there are enough guys there. So when you give me 6 or 7 quality innings, you get to the bullpen, you get to Betances and Miller, who else need to throw in there? I believe Andrew Bailey, who was an all-star, a rookie of the year, who hasn't pitched since like 2013, is coming back now from a bunch of shoulder surgeries. Local guy went to Wagner College, and he's in the bullpen now too. So like the stronger the strong or already strong bullpen is getting stronger.
The rich getting richer.
Getting richer, very rich right now. They have like 4 lefties in there, 6 or 7 righties. I mean, they're just stacked. So look. If you're hitting 1 to 9, you have 3 to 4 good starters, and you have a bullpen like that. There's no reason to count them out.
Absolutely.
But none of this matters until I believe the Yankees are playing 30 games in 31 days. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the month, they're playing a 4-game series with the Blue Jays, and that's going to decide everything. Because right now, they're a game and a half out.
Well, that's what the new wild card thing. Winning division is so important.
Right.
A 1-game playoff. I mean, so we're saying, the Yankees are mashing the ball. They got 3. None of these things about rotation matter because it's 1 game.
Right.
Like anything can happen in 1 game.
I mean, in 4 weeks when they go and play the Blue Jays in 4 games,
who's the second wild? I mean, obviously, Yankees are first. I think who's second right now?
I have to even go check on that. I'm not even sure. I'm afraid to even pop. That's how bad things are here recording for us. If I open up an internet browser, it'll crash.
Podcast might crash. Some more Applebee's.
I can look for a second. Well, the Yankees are they're 1.5 out, depending on what happens tonight with the Blue Jays. And we have the Francesa silence going on here because I'm looking.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, here we go. It's loading.
Dead air.
See, Tam doesn't give up either. Anyway, it would be the division leaders: Toronto, Kansas City, Houston. Knew that, and then you have Texas 3 games back from Houston. Minnesota's basically out of it, and the Yankees. So it would be the Yankees are battling with, I guess, the Angels and Texas. The Angels are 6 games out. Texas is 3 games out, and the Yankees are a game and a half. So those are the teams that the Yankees are battling with.
For that, well, I think Yankees pretty much have the top spot in the wild card. Pretty much, I wouldn't say tied up, but they have a good lead there, right?
Right. So that's what I said. It still comes back to the Blue Jays. They beat the Blue Jays. They got to beat the Blue Jays. They go, 2-3 games ahead of the Blue Jays. We'll see. Obviously, the course of the month too, the Blue Jays their bats can get cold, and they could
absolutely
lose out. I think the Yankees pitching is way stronger than the Blue Jays.
I think, I think so. The Yankees.
The month it'll be an interesting month, but the series at the end of the month will be gigantic, and that'll decide a lot. But I'm going to go with yes. I think they are
absolutely
a World Series contender. The other question, the flip side, the Mets, and it's more of it's a different question, but kind of the same result. They're in a difference in the Yankees, so they're 6 games up, I believe, in the Nationals, 7 games up in the Nationals. Will they collapse?
Well, the good thing there's a saying that goes around is you're only as hot as your next pitcher. And the good thing about the Mets is they have a lot. We were talking about the Yankees before. I would say the Yankees are strong everywhere except starting pitching.
Right.
The Mets, on the other hand, only have starting pitching, basically.
Yeah, you're right.
They have their offense is very, very weak.
It's timely hitting. Yeah.
Timely hitting, exactly.
The bullpen blew games from last night.
Bullpen's not great. So, but any given night, Matt Harvey can throw 8 shutout innings. Bartolo Colon threw 8 shutout innings the other night. Syndergaard's been fantastic.
Getting Matt's back.
Matt's back, exactly. That's 4 very good pitchers right there. Well, Matt if you're saying he's a 4 starter, you compare him to other 4 starters, it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Because the guy could be a 1 on other teams.
And then Nice. I mean, and Nice is bad, but I mean, as a 5,
he might not even be in the playoffs anyway.
Oh, exactly.
They're skipping. They're
skipping
a
collapse. So going through September.
Well, they're skipping Harvey's start again because they don't want him to go over 180 innings. So so they're going to try to keep him fresh for the playoffs. But it's almost every Mets fan has that negative thought in the back of their head saying
because those 2 years they did it when they blew a 7-game lead in 2 weeks.
They're up 7 games in 7 days, and they somehow find a way to get to the playoffs. But I think it's almost unfair, and I feel sorry for Met fans who have to walk around being like, that
pessimistic.
When's it going to start? When's the bat's going to get cold? But I honestly think they win in spite of Terry Collins, who's not a very good baseball manager. The move for Cespedes and getting Uribe, it's been great. Cespedes is crushing the ball. He's hitting like over 280, bunch of home runs. The Mets, the guy's a horse. Like I said, when you have starting pitching like that, all you want to do, the Yankees, I said, you want to hope for 6 innings for them. Then those Mets pitchers can go the full 9. They can give you everything you need. So, luckily for Mets fans, I don't think you're going to collapse. I think the Nationals, the reason why they won't collapse is because the Nationals have been so brutal. Matt Williams has destroyed that team. That team was everyone's going to pick to win the World Series and at least represent the NL, and they've been awful. They've been terrible.
They've just won 100 games. Like when they got Scherzer in there. Scherzer's been great, but I think Strasburg, I have to say, he's been a disappointment. Like
ever since the surgery,
injuries have played a big part in it, but he came up that first game through like 15 strikeouts in 7 innings, something like that. He was supposed to be the next, like, the wonder child, and since the surgery, he just really hasn't been the same, and he misses a lot of time with injuries still. And so they're really Scherzer, Bryce Harper, and not much.
Bryce Harper, could be the NL MVP. Maybe might lose out to Goldschmidt now because they're struggling, and that's the reason why the Mets won't lose out on this 7-game lead, or whatever it is right now. And it's because the Nationals...
People forget, they want to talk, the Mets blew a 7-game lead in 2 weeks. The Phillies got red hot during that time. They would not lose. They won 3 weeks straight, something like that.
So what would have to happen this year would be the Mets to get extremely cold and the Nationals to somehow figure out and turn around and become extremely hot. The Nationals at the point of firing Matt Williams this late in the season. It would be incredible if they did. So I think that's just too much to happen in a short span of time. There's no way the Nats are going to... do I think the Nats will lose at this pace? No, they'll start winning a couple of games. Do I think the Mets will constantly only win? No, the Mets will lose games here and there too, but I think that's a pretty good lead for this, for being in September already. There's just too much to happen for the Mets to go and blow it. The one last topic we'll get to, because again, not much going on here. A shorter podcast today, episode 20, but we could end on a funny note with Gene and about the Mets. Curtis Granderson, their outfielder, former Yankee, former Tiger, was interviewed. I believe might have been the Post, some New York paper publication, whatever. And they asked him, what's something, you're a soft-spoken, humble guy, what is something that if you would say that would rile the feathers of people? And he says that, well, if we went to the moon in the 60s, why haven't we been back? And he makes a good point, because we haven't been back. You would think we have the technology to go now, and most people who think rationally just say, we've been there, we sent stuff to Mars and this place and that place. There's really not much going on the moon, and that's why we don't go. The other half says, we have the money.
Stanley Kubrick filmed the moon landing.
Stanley Kubrick did it. There's all the theory. They have all those theories out there. We lost the technology of how to do it. All the files were, they got rid of the files, or we don't have the money. All this different stuff. So, because Gene's the podcast comedian here,
the funny guy. Yeah.
What do you make of Curtis Granderson? Are you on Team Granderson, or you think we've been to the moon?
Well, it could have been a lot worse. If I got to hear someone say a 9/11, he was 9/11 truther, and it's nah, jet fuel can't melt steel beams, even though we've been melting steel since the Bronze Age in 3000 BC. But all right, but whatever. The moon landing. What's the point of arguing it? It's why are we going back to the moon? There's nothing there. Let's go get some moon rocks and go you want to get to the moon, hit a good home run there, Curtis. That's what you got to do. That might be the only way to get out of Citi Field. It's crazy.
I don't know. NASA has said we there's no reason to go back there. We want to their budgets they're cutting down budgets. It costs a ton of money to go there and build the ships.
It's a lot of money that we just don't have.
We go to. I feel like we go to Mars every other week, or we go to some star, some other thing every other week, sending other drones and crap out there. So I feel like
the moon's like Panama City Beach. No one wants to go there anymore. It's done. Everyone's going to Cancun now.
You're right.
We're going to Mars. No
it was a fad in the '60s, and now it's done.
Yeah,
but a lot of people it's because all the whole space race with the Russians, right? And so we wanted to get better and better and better, and we finally sent something up there. And then because we kind of cut back on the budgets, and all the best engineers and all those guys who are working on it are no longer working for NASA, or they're not alive or whatever, that they kind of forgot and lost all the notes and know how to do it. And I think that's crap. And I feel like everyone gets better 50, 60 years past that.
Yeah,
I feel like we want to go to the moon tomorrow. We could just be all right. We're gonna go.
We're gonna go. And it's about the Russians. You don't think we want to screw Putin right now? We made it back to the moon 2 times.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. There you go.
So you're against Curtis?
I'm against Curtis. Yeah.
All right. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the last bit of comedy for that. Like I said, shorter podcast here, but I want to just recap our fantasy draft, talk about the big RG3 news, talk a little Mets Yankees, the playoffs. and Curtis Gernson's strange thoughts on space travel. So hopefully next week
a little bit time travel.
Next week is time travel.
Time travel with Michael Kadire.
There we go. He's deaf too, so he might be able to hear you.
Yeah,
that's the only thing with that. Anyways, any last words, Gene?
No, I think we hit on everything. Good podcast. Good talk about the moon. Good talk about next week time travel. Yeah.
So next week, hopefully, we'll be a little bit longer and a little bit better. As always, thank you to our sponsors, Applebee's, but thank you to all of our listeners and readers. Check out the site, dishandandswishing.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Edward L. Murphy. You can follow Gene at Gene DeMeo or at NYGD_blue. Anything I'm forgetting, we're on YouTube as well. The podcast there if you want to listen to it at work, if you're mailing it in your cubicle or on your phone. We'll try to get to iTunes soon. We're not very good with the tech aspects, as you can see. We have low budget. Applebee's not shelling out their money.
I do all the tech stuff.
Yeah,
that's about it.
And hopefully the Joe Calabrese, the former podcaster, will come back and do
the prodigal son of
DNS. He's busy applying jobs and getting his stuff figured out too. So we'll give him a mini break because it's summer. We understand that, but now it's September. Now football's rolling around. The podcast obviously going to be jam packed with a ton of stuff. We'll do more fantasy week to week stuff. All that baseball playoffs, and then eventually in October. Hockey and basketball start up.
Everything's back.
So we're going to have lots to talk about.
The
so now
back.
We're somehow finding an hour to do with the dog days, so you got to give us some credit here. But again, everyone, thanks for listening. Sorry for this extremely long outro, and we'll see you next week.